How's it going, guys? Welcome to Breakthrough Gaming. In today's video, I'm going to be showing an amazing edit here by The Last of Us Strategist. He goes over so much in-depth information as to every single question that you may or may not have for The Last of Us Part 2. So, if you're going to actually take the time to watch this, I know the style is a little bit different from the type of content that I upload, so I hope that you can cope with it, enjoy it. It has an amazing amount of details, and he actually gave us permission to upload it. So make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe for a chance of winning 1 out of 10 copies for The Last of Us Part 2. Also follow us on social media for 3 Collector's Edition, and for this video, only this video, make sure to also check out The Last of Us Strategist. That's going to be a step in the giveaway. Make sure to show your support and subscribe to him, as this could not have been possible without him. Thank you for watching, and peace out.
Hello everyone, Strategist here with what may be my most insightful and entertaining video I've ever put together. I honestly believe that. I think it is that good. I am so excited to share it with you. I can't guarantee, but I think there is a very, very high probability if you finish this video all the way through, you will definitely walk away having learned something completely new that you did not see in this trailer. So with that being said, I have not viewed other YouTubers' videos yet. I did not want my views and opinions skewed, so I'll be checking those out after I publish this. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. All right, here we go. Really interesting song to start it off. So the lights definitely reminded me of Jackson, and Neil Druckmann did confirm that this is in fact Jackson, Tommy's Dam, where the first game left off. So I thought Ellie looked a little different. She didn't look like the Ellie in the previous trailer, the first trailer. Her face was different, it was more full, and part of me thought maybe that was just because she was comfortable with this life here in the dam. And then we start seeing one of the first new characters, and then the second, Jesse. So it's not just that, it's the comfortable life. Ellie's actually a year younger than the first trailer.
Your old man really laid into me today.
A reference to Joel, obviously the old man.
Another big lecture about my patrols. Don't go here.
So people do say Joel is alive. Yes, he's alive at this point. Remember, this is 1 year before the gameplay, where the gameplay starts. Important thing to remember, right?
I give you guys 2 weeks until you're back together.
The lighting is excellent in this. Really, really good. Warm, bright lighting.
Make it 1 week. Ellie! Hey!
Watch this gesture right here.
So long. Well, I'm here, aren't I?
Dina?
Jesse.
Part 1. Dina. First and foremost, I'd like to point out that that gesture that Dina made is a classic gesture, grabbing Ellie's glass and drinking its contents. This action is actually directly drawn from a really old text, Ovid's Ars Amatoria, in English, The Art of Love. Well, this book was published in 2 AD, no joke, a long time ago, 2 AD, and it's basically a series of instructional poems which really advise one on how they can win over and make love to another woman. It's really interesting through deceitfulness or otherwise. It's an interesting collection. The actual act of taking another's glass and drinking from it, it is a highly sexual gesture that says, I want to exchange fluids with you. That's what that gesture was. And I found that really interesting. The second aspect that I kind of like to touch on right now is Dina's heritage, which I believe to be Judaism. It's a combination of like her hair and her facial features, her name, and And it's also an accessory which she has on her that kind of points me in that direction. So first off, let's take a closer look at her name, Dinah. In biblical terms, if you look it up, Dinah was the only daughter of Jacob, and she ended up being abducted and raped/defiled by a Canaanite. Her name has several different meanings in different languages. In English, it means of the valley, which for me draws me back to the first trailer again and the song that Ellie sang. Look it back up again if you'd like. The second meaning is in Arabic. Dinah means love. Quite interesting. A little bit of a different take. The last is in Hebrew. Dinah in Hebrew means avenged, vindicated, which to me is very telling. Take note how the mood in the music really changes now that Dinah takes Ellie.
Such a dick. Come on. Once you start with
There's a really, really interesting juxtaposition here
very serious
between these
question
two.
for you. How bad do I smell?
This scene kind of reminds me of like a middle school dance with all its awkwardness, but it is very humanistic. It is a very interesting
Okay.
mix between the two.
How about that? Gross.
You can tell Ellie is very nervous. The closeness, the intimacy, something she has not felt, maybe ever.
Every guy in this room is staring at
She's very uncertain. Whereas Dinah, on the opposite, is very confident,
you. Staring at you.
very sure of herself and what she is doing.
Or not. Maybe they're jealous of you.
Then there's this classic line.
Just a girl. Not a threat.
Now there's something very important about to be revealed here.
Oh, Ellie.
Part 2, the bracelet. I would like each of you to take a very close look at the bracelet on Dinah's right hand. It bears a symbol known as a hamsa, a right-hand shaped amulet that is historically worn to provide protection and defense against the evil eye, or evils in general. It is a ubiquitous and highly respected symbol amongst Jewish people, although it has been referred to in other names in other cultures, such as the hand of Fatima, the hand of Mary, or the hand of the goddess. The word Hamsa is Arabic, meaning 5, referencing 5 fingers of a hand. The hand, in general, is an extremely powerful symbol used in various mystical and occult traditions. It is very important to note here the direction of the hand. An upward-facing hand is used to ward off evil and bring good luck. A downward-facing open hand is used to bestow blessings to others. Please keep this in mind as we continue.
I think they should be terrified of you.
A lot of people were kind of surprised by this kiss, but I was not surprised at all. I mean, especially if you've played the Left Behind DLC, this should be not surprising at all. But what happens right here is very, very interesting. So I'm going to pause it a second to explain this transition from Jackson to where we are going at the start of the gameplay. I want to reference the PSX 2017 In Between the Lines video that I did, in which Hallie Gross had a very difficult time describing a certain scene that went from one place to another. And I said that it wasn't just that it went from one location to another, but from one time to another. And that is exactly what happens right here. Where the gameplay starts is 1 year later. Neil Druckmann confirmed this. And so what happens in that 1 year is very, very critical. And it's also important to note that Joel was alive 1 year ago, but he may not be 1 year later. Very, very important. Also, notice the juxtapositions of many things, colors, feelings, everything. It's very important. So notice the bracelet on Ellie's right hand. It's the same bracelet. It's Dina's bracelet. Also, notice how we've transitioned from a loving embrace to a visceral embrace of death. Now let me add that this gameplay is phenomenal. The Naughty Dog team has done such a good job with this. Notice the darkness, the coldness, the quiet and still, the juxtaposition once again of water and fire, darkness and light. Part 3, the Seraphites. So I would like to break down this root word a little bit. A seraph or seraphim are generally thought of as celestial beings within the Christian, Judaic, and Islamic traditions. A seraphim, also kind of known as an angel, are highly associated with both light and purity. That is important to remember. And for me, when Neil Druckmann told us that the name of this group was the Seraphites, it was a massive, massive unveiling. And for me, this leads to greater understanding of this group and is really the keystone for future unveilings as well. As I noted in my first impressions and esoteric symbolism video, the one regarding the second trailer release, the torch is a very important symbol of illumination and truth. I want you to really remember this as the scene unfolds. So just an interesting little side note here. Several months ago, sometime after the release of the very first Chile 2 trailer, I decided to kind of jot down my own ideas and my own version of where the Chile 2 storyline could go. I knew the storyline was partially based in the Pacific Northwest, where I currently reside, and I knew it primarily focused on that general region. So with that in my story, Ellie and her companion, who is not Joel, I will not say who it is, but it's not Joel, are stalked and gently abducted by a radical group of ex-Fireflies who call themselves, I'm not making this up, they call themselves the Enlightened. They live in the Pacific Northwest forests and live in kind of a more ancient way. They live in the same kind of manner as the Yakima, the Klickitat, the Umatilla, the Walla Walla, the indigenous tribes of that region. They kind of adopted their methods for themselves. I'm not going to go into it much more at all. I just want to say one last thing that in my notes, the Enlightened tell Ellie that they are no longer looking for the light. Now they're going to become the light. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue. These ferns look amazing. Amazing use of cover. We see yet another victim hanging. We see the Seraphites using like a whistling technique, which Anthony Newman, one of the Naughty Dog developers, explained some of this new technology that they developed, and it is mind-blowing. It is really, really amazing stuff. Part 4. May she guide you. As I told Alex Nadine on Twitter, the large mural on the parking garage wall was one of the first things in my initial viewing that captured and arrested my attention. Take note of her downward-facing open hands, bestowing blessings to us, that she may guide us. But to what or whom? To the light? That is certainly a possibility. To me, this appears to be a significant detail of the Seraphites. Another side note, a crazy and outlandish theory for each of you to kind of just mull around with for a little bit. The mural depicts Joel's daughter, Sarah. In the cult, the Seraphites, see the name Sarah, don't just worship light, but the blonde-haired innocent girl who died from a traumatic stomach wound. Joel is the cult leader and purifies the world by inflicting that same deathly wound on others through disembowelment. A wild and crazy theory, I know, and I don't really put much stock into it at all at this time, but I think it's a pretty fun one for us to kind of entertain. Anyways, let's move on. Yet another victim hanging. And we are now being drawn towards the light as we hop over this tree. This scene looks very familiar, does it not? Interesting that Ellie is pro now. An awesome, awesome new feature. Part 5, the lampposts. So yesterday I woke up at 3:45 in the morning with this sudden thought, an epiphany, if you will. They're all hanging from lampposts. Not tree branches, not some building structure, lampposts. The reveal of the name Seraphites really connected this one for me. The interplay between lightness and darkness. Take a very close look at each of the lampposts. They are all cross-shaped, like a crucifix, and all of them are broken. Their light has been extinguished, just as the victims who hang from them. Watch what happens with the torches as well. Notice how when the torches are both extinguished, it really changes the feeling and vibe of the environment. It goes from this warm place to this dark, sinister kind of feeling, right? And how the light draws us to different areas like this, right? The light up there can kind of draw you into the parking garage. One of the first things I also notice is that Ellie has a different type of bow. It is a recursive bow. Also a new aiming reticle. Looks very simplified but very cool. Yeah, a recursive bow is really the best choice for a post-apocalyptic scenario. Very durable, very easy to maintain. You can see that little like white sheen as if it was around the edge of an orb or a circle, kind of indicating where the enemy opponent was kind of like getting close or coming within view, right? Here it looks like she's going to go for a shiv, but you can tell with the light on the left it's probably not a good idea. You can see it turns red as she is spotted. The melee mechanics are phenomenal. Anthony Newman has done such a good job with this melee. He was in charge of the melee in the first Last of Us, and these improvements are significant. I love the effect of the crows flying away as Ellie flees. I really like just the seamlessness of the running and the vaulting. The HUD is very simplified. It almost has a slightly sci-fi look to it, but it's very simplified, but also stays true to the original. And of course, this right here, the proning is awesome. This really opens up a lot of dimensionality to the game. Changes things quite a bit.
Wolf, she came through here.
Part 6, Wolf. Another thing that really captivated me in my initial viewing was that Ellie is not only once, but twice referred to as Wolf. This should immediately bring to mind the Outtake Bray poster of the hammer and the hidden wolf in the background to mind. Why is Ellie referred to as Wolf? My guess is that it's actually a kind of biblical reference. Many biblical figures were shepherds, tending to their sheep, a metaphor for a leader looking after their people. It is possible the shepherds, in this case, are shepherds of light. And what do shepherds fear most? A wolf, silently emerging from the shadows to pick off straying sheep one by one. Make note, the truck in the back there has the Fedra logo on it, and it literally says Fedra. Very interesting. Yeah, that truck right there. Fedra logo on the left and says Fedra on the door on the right. I thought she might shoot her in the knee at first. Really interesting that you can aim while prone like that. And she's dragged out. Once again, some more melee mechanics, which is pretty dang cool. Guy had an axe. As I mentioned in many other gameplays and live streams before, I see this being a very melee-focused game. And for the first time, an opponent with a bow. Love the inclusion of the bottles from the first, and the grabbing also from the first. This sounds like a type of, once again, like a double barrel or a frontier kind of rifle. Very interesting. And Ellie is using R1 to pull out the arrow, which I like how it kind of like had that kind of weird pinching and skewing of the view. You know, like it made it feel like it really was hurting pulling that out. Just a side note though, in this situation I think I would leave the bow in because you're likely to bleed out more once you've pulled a bow out. At least in real life. I know in the game, not so much. Really cool that it has that effect that you can pull out bows and stuff. I like that kind of like slightly bleeding crossbow effect that this bow has. The tight squeezing between walls and surfaces also really opens it up, makes it feel more like a real environment, not one that you are locked into. And this kind of like crafting HUD is very simple and very quick, which I really, really like for crafting under pressure. I love how that exploding arrow also stunned that guy there. Once again, some really interesting, you know, like melee with parrying, blocking, dodging. Much, much more advanced melee system. I love how, as she takes that opponent down, the arrows fall out. And also, how when she got hit with that hammer really made the screen distorted so you could feel the blow. And I also really love that she did not use her final arrow on him. It's like this is a very tough situation where you need to save every single scrap, every single piece. And the blood splatter looks amazing. And once again, a transition back to where we started. Part 7, Duality. The theme of duality pervades nearly every aspect of this trailer. Duality, how seemingly opposite forces are actually completely interconnected and actually define one another. When I think of the two scenes, the dance and the gameplay, this duality becomes readily apparent. For the dance, you have warm colors, bright lights, joyfulness, hopefulness, safety, and loving, and the whole scene seems very tender. Where on the flip side, the gameplay, cool colors, dark colors, very dark feeling, despair, hopelessness, dread, danger, malice, and the overall feeling is very brutal, visceral. The manner in which these dualistic properties were seamlessly and subtly weaved throughout this trailer is really quite masterful and a thing of beauty. Add to that the phenomenal new gameplay engine with fluid and seamless animation transitions. Improvements in nearly every single core mechanic from the first game makes this an unbelievably impressive showcase. The gameplay is amazing, no question, but for me, the storyline reveals were just as scintillating and exciting to figure out what is to come. So now the question is, did Ellie actually infect Dina? Or is Dina somehow immune just like Ellie? It really makes me wonder if this loving kiss, an act that brought so much joy and happiness to Ellie's face, is it actually the catalyst for the demise of Tommy's community in Jackson? Well, we shall find out all in due time. all in due time. Sincere thanks to each and every one of you for taking the time to join me today. I know this is not a short video. It is quite lengthy, and to watch it in its entirety, it is a bit of a commitment. So thank you. I have never asked anyone to like my videos or to subscribe to my channel, and I don't plan on doing it anytime soon. I certainly will not do it right now. I know those of you who choose to watch my videos do so of your own volition, and I recognize, honor, and respect that decision. So those of you who watch me for a while know that I am not an amazing player. I don't have elite corner shooting skills. I certainly will not be organizing any TLU multiplayer tournaments anytime soon. And I am certainly not a good streamer. I mean, I make do with what I have, but streaming is definitely not my forte. The gift that I share with each of you and the Last of Us community at large is a gift of observing and unveiling that which some of us cannot see. An insight, if you will. If you do feel like you'd like to support this channel somehow, for now, please just leave a comment with your thoughts and feelings about this video, and if you have a friend who is interested in The Last of Us, maybe tell them about this video as well. For now, that would be plenty. So lastly, thank you once again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Cheers.